new Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, has recently faced a backlash after releasing a list of beneficiaries from the COVID-19 relief fund intended for artists and cultural workers. The move, intended to promote transparency, has sparked controversy as critics argue it exposed sensitive personal information and created unintended public scrutiny. Well, we speak now to Chairperson of the South African Guild of Actors, Devnarain. He joins us in studio. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I almost want to start from even just the position that he holds, right? The announcement is made on that Sunday evening. The president says, our new Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture is Gayton McKenzie. What was your reaction? Let's start there.
I can't say that I had any expectations because typically over the last few administrations, the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture has never really accounted for much, has never really had to do anything. A lot of the work from our former ministers has largely been attending functions, enjoying photo opportunities, grandstanding for themselves, and not really getting into the heart of what the real artists' grievances are. So we were never having substantial conversations with any of those ministers for many, many years.
That's interesting, right? Because that says that whoever comes into the position, you perhaps don't have a lot of confidence that the views of artists are actually going to be listened to.
That's part of our concern, yes. So, of course, we were eagerly anticipating an opportunity to engage with the minister to at least be able to articulate what it is that artists are aggrieved about again. So we've had many, many opportunities and we keep going round in circles because nobody seems to know how to address these issues. So yes, the announcement was made. Minister Gayton McKenzie is now our new DSAC minister. The question is, are we going to go around this mulberry bush all over again? Yeah,
I mean, one thing you can't deny is that Gayton McKenzie is what you could possibly call a colourful politician, right? I mean, you've got, the messages going out on social media, let's go, let's run, this is what we're doing, we're going to be active, and then talking about how he wants to formalise, drifting and spinning, right? And then where the creative arts are concerned, he says, we're going to work with full transparency. He says, I'm going to release a list of artists who received funding during the COVID-19 pandemic, and he does so. 4,000 names, just over 4,000 names are in that list. Some artists, some entities, amounts that range from 10,000 Rand all the way up to 70,000 Rand. The list comes out. What did you think?
I think that firstly, the minister's objectives are to be applauded. We obviously want to have a government department overseeing our sector with some transparency and accountability. What we believe is the conflict is that the minister had made this announcement specifically referring to certain mafia elements within his ministry, within the department. He specifically referred to people who are living off the patronage, political patronage, people who are serial recipients of this funding. And of course, that's a concern for all artists. We want to know who they are. So as far as SAGA is concerned, we believe that anyone who receives funding through the public purse should exist as part of a list somewhere. The question is whether all those people on the list are going to be painted with the same brush. Are the people on this list fair or unfair recipients of this funding? And in our estimation of what had taken place, we believe that there was a disconnect between what the minister's stated objectives were and the execution of his plan.
Well, okay, we need to understand that a little bit further, right? Because you're essentially saying that there is a concern that there are artists in the country that seem to be, perhaps, let's say, politically leaning in the right direction and so have better access to funding and opportunity than others would. Was that list, I suppose, some sort of indication on who some of those artists may be, in your view?
It wasn't enough. The release of the list in itself was essentially a data dump. What do we do with this information? Where's the analysis that goes with the information? Where's the analysis that speaks to the minister's objectives? If the minister's objective is to say, I want to identify and root out those people who are living off the public purse through a system of political patronage, we need to know who they are. Show us where the data reveals us, indicate the pattern of how many times did such and such person receive this funding, to what amount.
Yeah, I want to do this. Let's bring in another guest here, Ayanda Roda, who is a former SG of Cultural and Creative Industries. Ayanda, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. That's the Cultural and Creative Industries Federation of South Africa. Really good to have you with us. The list comes out this week. What is your initial reaction when you see it? Is this a step in the right direction by the Sports, Arts and Culture Minister, Ayanda?
Yeah, no, it's quite disturbing, but we had to welcome what the minister is doing, because as a sector, it's not something new that is happening to us. All the funding that the institution or the department has been issuing to us or requesting us to apply for, they've been in public. I would make an example. You know that National Arts Council publicized their list of recipients. We've got your NABS that does the same thing. And even outside the department, there are other institutions which are independent, which are also doing the same thing. You recently received a list of applicants from Sambro, where artists applied for music doing outside the department. So it's not something that is a surprise to us, not something that is new to us, but we are saying we welcome it. But the concern around this matter is that this list was released in 2021 and in 2022. We find it very disturbing to see that it seems like they are creating a mockery out of the creative sector. They are creating fun out of names of artists that have received this funding. Someone has received funding in 2021 and his name is reappearing again this year in 2024. I mean, why would you do that when we know who received funding? But if he's got any discrepancies or any concern around people that have received this funding and are not artists, he needs to have an internal investigation on his department, not creating a mockery out of us as the creative sector.
I mean, it's interesting that the word mockery certainly has come up a few times from some artists that have reacted, right? He published, of course, a second list on Thursday, and he's quoted as saying that he will not be deterred. He says, this is not your money, it's not my money, this is public money, and the public must know who got money from them. If, you know, and I want to actually look at the reaction from some artists, Ayanda, and stay with you on this one. We recently on Channel 405 spoke to Sipho Stole, who has chaired various structures within the arts and entertainment industry, one of them, of course, being the Moshito, a platform as well for musicians, who says that, and he used the words, if he were one of the artists that was on that list, they would pool that money together and drop it at the door of government, because it is an insult to those artists. What then is the way forward for the minister if he really wants to speak about transparency, and at the same time he's met with this idea of the dignity of the artist?
The minister needs to meet with the creative sector, which I really appreciate. I heard him in one of the interviews to say this week he will be meeting with the structures within the creative sector. And we also want to alert and caution him to say we only have a Cultural and Creative Industry Federation of South Africa, which is CIFSA. That was created by the department, and artists participated in creation of that structure. The minister needs to honor and respect that structure, to say this is the federation that was created for artists to be the mouthpiece of artists. Whether the structure is failing today or is not failing today, but this is a structure that was created for us as the creative sector. The minister needs to meet with such structure and extend his hand to meet with the creative sector as a whole. So we are calling for a public dialogue with the minister as the creative sector, after he has engaged with the CIFSA, which is the Creative and Cultural Industry Federation of South Africa. So we are saying to the minister, if you want to solve or bring change in the creative sector, there are policies that you need to pay attention to. This is a sector, as the political head, one of your role as the minister is to find a way of creating a conducive environment through policies within your department. Create dialogue around policies with us as the creative sector, and meet with our legitimate structures. There are legitimate structures that, as the department, they know they have created those structures to say we want to work with you as creative sector through these structures,
I'm
not
running
as
out of time.
individuals. So entertaining individuals is going to create another problem to us as a sector.
Okay, I need to squeeze one last question in, Jackie, because we're out of time. But the next step that you want to see from the minister then as Saga?
ongoing engagement. We have to make it very clear what the issues are, especially the fact that we are not a regulated sector. The Minister will be forced to work with the Department of Employment and Labour, Trade, Industry and Competition if any of our grievances are to be addressed. He's not going to do it on his own, and he certainly can't do it without organisations like ours. And he's got to be careful about being misled into dealing with organisations that are not correctly mandated.